I was walking down the street. I was a small, insignificant speck on this world. But that doesn't account for why no one would talk to me, or even acknowledge me. I screamed from the sidewalk. I created scenes, but nobody cared. I decided going for a walk down a forested path just outside of town would do me good. As I was walking, I began to hear soft singing in the woods and followed it. A boy was sitting in a tree and sung softly. Jumping down, he looked at me. "Oh, I'm sorry, was I too loud?" he asked. I smiled. "Don't worry about it." The boy looked at me. "You know, these woods are dangerous at night." I looked around. "Dangerous how?" He got back up and hung upside down from the tree. "Ghosts," he said, waving his arms around. I laughed. "Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna possess through me or walk through the walls," I said, looking around. No walls in sight. He laughed. "We can't do any of that." I laughed with him, then stopped. "We?" His eye twitched and he looked at me. "You know these woods are dangerous at night." My heart beat hard. "I have to go. It was fun meeting you." I turned around, and he was there looking at me. A twitch in his body. "You know these woods are dangerous at night." I screamed and turned running away. "Watch out for the girl in the well," he said. I thrashed through the woods, branches cutting my face, making it back to the city and locking myself in my apartment. I flipped on all the light switches in the house and laid down, trying to calm myself. The creep from earlier didn't know where I lived. I must have fallen asleep at some point, as I awoke to knocking on my door, in the dead of night. I was startled awake and froze, not daring to move. Eventually, the knocking turned to pounding, and I heard my front door splinter into pieces. Tears streaming down my face, I hid under the bed as I heard the soft creak of floorboards as someone moved around my house. They stopped right outside my door, singing softly, "Where are you?" My heart was pounding loudly, and I prayed whoever it was would just leave. Then, a knock on my door. As before, the knocking turned to pounding, and the door split. I saw, to my horror, the boy walk into my room. He walked beside the bed, first checking in the closet, then vanished. I tried to calm my breathing, and then started to crawl from under the bed. I turned my head, and to my utter horror, the boy was lying next to me under the bed. "Found you," he said. I screamed and clawed his face as I escaped from under the bed. When I stood, he was in the doorway, blocking my only exit. "Listen now," he said angrily. "You're going into the woods, right now. You're going to look in the well to the right of the path, because if you don't, I'll make you regret ever coming into this godforsaken earth." After that, he simply vanished. He was gone. I stood shaking in fear and shock as I went over his instructions. Go to the well? Why? I grabbed my small flashlight and headed out of my apartment. The air seemed thick. It took me only minutes to reach the woods, and I was terrified. I noticed something, and that was nothing. No crickets made noises. No animals scurried out of sight. The woods were dead. I swallowed my fear. My heart was beating in my throat. My knees shook as I approached the well. I knew where it was. I'd seen it many times. As I turned into the small branching path that led to the well, I saw the boy in front of me. I almost screamed, but it was caught in my throat. His gaze was on me intensely. He said nothing. I crept forward, and he kept his eyes on me as I brushed past him, feeling his cold, dead skin. I realized the boy's body had to be down there. He wanted me to find it. He wanted me to find it so I could tell people. He wanted to be buried. I swallowed, and a small whimper escaped from my throat as I lifted the flashlight to peer down. But the body down there, down in the well in the middle of the night, was not the boy's body, but my own.